Your number one priority in Schedule 1 is to make as much money as possible to grow your empire from the ground up. Given that there are seemingly endless combinations and several ingredients to use to create different effects, getting a grasp on the best recipes both early on and in late game can be a monumental task. There are quite a few that you can create on a budget that can bag you some serious cash. Here are the best recipes for both early game and late game in Schedule 1, as well as the most profitable recipes overall to create a thriving empire. Before we begin, note that you'll need to put the ingredients in a specific order to get the correct product. While the names of the strains are randomly generated, the price per gram should be the same, so be careful to follow the recipes exactly to ensure the correct outcome. It's worth noting that I will show a screen at the end of each mix that has a 0% success rate. It's 0% due to me attempting to sell a massive amount of product to a single customer, which is impossible. But this screen is just used to serve as proof that the product will sell for the amount mentioned after all 20 grams have sold. You are going to want to hand these products off to dealers or bag them individually to sell them yourself. Here we are going to use enough ingredients to make 20 of each strain. OG Kush is the first product you gain access to. Given that you only have a handful of ingredients to use when you first start, you want to make as much money in XP as you can using what you have available to unlock new, more profitable ingredients. All of these recipes use OG Kush as the main ingredient and are beginner friendly. Each OG Kush seed costs $30 and each plant grows several buds. The first recipe only costs $6 for the ingredients of 2 bananas and 1 cuke. Its resulting strain is worth $80 per gram, which is a big leap from the original price of OG Kush per gram, which has a suggested price of $38. Here is the recipe ingredient order: banana, cuke, banana. Again, the name it creates is random, so only focus on the price per, which should be $80 if you mixed all 3 ingredients in the right order. The total cost for a stack of 20 is $120, and after selling all 20, you'll earn at least $1,600 if you just keep the suggested price of $80 per. The second recipe costs a tad more to make, but is also more profitable, using 4 ingredients and costing a total of $12. This creates a strain worth $103 per gram, and to make it, use the ingredients in this order: mouthwash, cuke, Viagra, banana. The end result should cost $103 per gram, and a stack of 20 costs $240 to make, but after selling all of the product, you'll make at least $2,060. The last recipe is the most profitable, beginner-friendly recipe with the highest cost of $20 for the ingredients. It will, however, earn you $127 per gram. To mix up this recipe, you will need to add these ingredients in order: donut, mouthwash, cuke, banana, Viagra, flu medicine. The end result should cost $127 per gram, and a stack of 20 will cost you $400. But you can earn at least $2,540 per stack if you sell all the product. The final seed that you will unlock is Granddaddy Purple, which comes later on down the line as you make progress and level up. Each seed costs $45, but there are several great mixes to be made using Granddaddy Purple as the main ingredient. These cost more upfront for ingredients, but the payoff is well worth it in the end. The first recipe only uses 2 ingredients but sells for $74 per gram. The ingredients cost $9 and must be used in this order: energy drink, paracetamol. The end result should cost $74 per gram, and to make 20, you are going to only spend $180, but you can expect to earn $1,480 when you sell all 20. The second recipe is where it gets a little more hectic, as you need to use 6 ingredients that cost $26 to make in this order: Viagra, paracetamol, energy drink, cuke, banana, paracetamol, motor oil. The end result, though, should cost $139 per gram, and to make 20, you are going to spend $520. But if you sell all 20, you will make $2,780. The final recipe for Granddaddy Purple is going to cost quite a bit up front, as it uses 7 different ingredients that cost $38. You will need to mix the ingredients in this order: banana, cuke, paracetamol, gasoline, cuke, battery, horse essence, mega bean. The end result should cost $167 per gram when mixed properly, but to make 20, you are looking to spend $760. If you sell all 20, though, you are going to make at least $3,340. After unlocking all the seeds, you will move on to the next product: Crystal. While Crystal can make you a lot more money, the upfront costs for mixes are much more expensive and time-consuming, as the process is a bit different for making Crystal than just growing flour and mixing it with ingredients. Not only will you need new equipment, but you are also going to need to purchase new ingredients to make the base product. There is only one type of Crystal, which alone sells for a suggested price of $70. Of course, the more you add to it, the more money you make. Here are the best recipes we have found for Crystal thus far when just starting out with the product. The first recipe calls for 3 ingredients and only costs $13 for them. You need to mix them in this order: Cuke, Viagra, Mega Bean. The end result should cost $167 per gram, and to make 20, you are going to have to spend $260 for the ingredients, not including the products to make the crystal. The next recipe costs slightly more upfront, but makes you $203 per gram, which is a huge jump from the previous recipes here. The ingredients cost $22 and must be used in this order: gasoline, Cuke, battery, Mega Bean. To make 20, you will need to be willing to spend $440, but after selling all 20, you will make at least $4,060. Lastly, you will unlock the holy grail of money-making in Schedule 1, the coca plant. Bringing in massive amounts of cash, the coca plant is the best product in Schedule 1, but it comes at a very high cost. To even start making the product to sell, you are going to need to invest in more equipment, and the time to create just 20 dried coca leaves is quite long. But if you are ready to make millions, the coca plant is your ticket to the high life, as it sells for a suggested $150 per gram at its base level with 0 ingredients added. The first recipe calls for 4 ingredients, costing only $22. The final product sells for $414 per gram, but you will need to mix these ingredients in order: horse essence, Viagra, Mega Bean, Cuke. To make 20, you are going to spend $440, but after selling all 20, you will make $8,280 back. The second recipe is going to cost a bit more upfront, but the payoff is very well worth the trouble in this case. The ingredients cost $41, and you must use them in this order: battery, Addy, paracetamol, chili, Cuke, energy drink, motor oil. The end result should cost $513 per gram, and to make 20, you will need to spend $820. But after you sell those 20 bags, you will have made a whopping $10,260, and this isn't even the most expensive mix that you can create with the coca plant. But we'll cover that next. So now you've made it to the big leagues and have a decent amount of cash saved to splurge on product and make a killing in Schedule 1. Here are the most profitable recipes in Schedule 1 at this time. The first recipe is going to use OG Kush as the main ingredient and uses 5 different ingredients that will cost $30 and must be added in this order: paracetamol, Cuke, paracetamol, gasoline, Cuke, Mega Bean, battery. Once these are all mixed up and together, the end result should cost $164 per gram, which is huge and pretty cheap for the ingredients. To make 20, you will spend $600, but after selling all 20, you can make at least $3,280. The second recipe uses crystal as its main ingredient and costs $38 for all of the ingredients needed. These will need to be mixed in this order: banana, Cuke, paracetamol, gasoline, Cuke, battery, horse essence, Mega Bean. Once mixed, the end result sells for $340 per, and to make 20, you will need to spend $760. After all 20 have sold, you will make at least $6,800. Now for the best and most profitable recipe in Schedule 1, which of course uses the coca plant as its main ingredient. Selling for a massive $735 per gram and only costing $42 for the ingredients, you will need to mix them in this order: motor oil, Cuke, paracetamol, gasoline, Cuke, battery, horse essence, Mega Bean. Again, the end result sells for $735 per, and to make 20, you are going to need to spend $840, which is nothing compared to the $14,700 you make back. These are just a handful of recipes you can create to profit in Schedule 1, as the possibilities are endless when using the mixer. You can always mix things up for yourself and see what you can create, but as of now, these are the best beginner-friendly and most profitable recipes to date. That's going to do it for this guide on the best Schedule 1 mixes. For more, head on over to our growing wiki pages, and as always, keep it locked on IGN.